Hi, welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name is Matt Lehman. On this stream, we typically work on a Django app that I'm building, but we're actually going to take a break from that this evening. I've got a side effort that I need to do as a presentation for an upcoming meetup event at a web technology event. So we're going to work on a totally different technology completely. So normally I'd say ask me questions about Python, Django, or web development, but this is going to be a little different flavor for this evening. We'll see how that goes. So I do work on the Go language at work and have some experience with it, but I have experience with it in the context of being a highly refined Go product. There's a whole team behind it putting stuff together. And what I'm going to be presenting at this upcoming meetup event that I'm attending is the intent to show how far you can go using nothing but the Go standard library to build some kind of web application, web API. I'm not really sure. So what I want to do with this stream this evening is go exactly into that and figure it out and get everything that we can and figure out what's available and what's possible just using the Go standard library. So it's going to be a little bit of a different flavor of presentation tonight. So I'm going to set up my screens differently too, because I think we're going to have to read a lot more documentation. So let's go ahead and get Firefox positioned on one half. And if we go to go.dev, that'll get us close to the dev section. And we're going to be using the standard library. So I'm going to bring that up. So we'll use this over here. And then on the other side, we won't be looking at Python stuff tonight, but we'll still need a terminal at our disposal. So let's create a new tab and get ready for that. So let's start up here with our empty projects area and see what we can do. Actually, before we even do that, the very first thing I need to do, I did try and set up a little bit last night on a different machine, how to get this going for my own purposes. I'm curious, there is a version of Go installed here, but if we, and it's coming from Homebrew, but if we do take a look at the version, we're going to see what it is. So it's on Go 1.20, and that is not new enough for the features that I want to take advantage of, because some of these new features I think only came out in Go 1.22. So we need to first set ourselves up to have a proper working version of Go that's on the latest thing, and then we can continue. I might actually just, these other tabs are distracting me, so let's go ahead and take them out and just focus completely on a couple of tabs that use just exclusively Go. The other machine that I did this on, I made some changes to my ZSH configuration, and I pushed those up. I version control those things. So let's take a look at, ooh, interesting. Got some conflicting files that are not going to work well. So let's see what's in our JSON RPC. Okay. So we might have to stash these things before we can pull. So let's do a git stash, and then we'll do a git pull. So we're going to pull down the changes that I did yesterday, and maybe it looks like before that too. And then we'll do a git stash pop to get these other changes that are on here. So we've got this reformatting here. So yeah, no worries, John. This is an exploration of what we can do with the Go standard library. So I'm not explicitly starting a Go project that I'm going to use as a SaaS project or anything, but really it's my opportunity to do some research and show off some stuff at the same time. So hopefully that'll be interesting. We'll learn together, because there's a lot of stuff I was saying at the beginning that I don't know about plugging in the basic pieces of web stuff on Go, because the context of Go that I have at work is most of that's been figured out for me. So the first thing I'm trying to do is get a sufficiently new version of Go, and let's go ahead and update my these files here and push this up so I don't forget about these anymore. So this will take a second. This is completely unrelated to this, so sorry, I didn't mean to do some dot files manipulation here, but you'll see why I pulled this in a second. In fact, while that's figuring itself out, I'm not sure what the heck it's doing. Let's bring up NeoVim. We might have to do some installation too. So what do I want to show? If so we should be in my dot, or not, okay. my bad. Let's go into my dot files clone, which has all my configuration. All that stuff is symbolically linked to the places it's supposed to go, so I can keep all of the configuration in a single repository. Right? Yeah, there's definitely some updating we're going to want to do, otherwise it's going to get really annoying. So let's see. Let's add previous plugin config changes. Sure. Seems okay. Here, what was I just about to show? Oh, I was going to show the actual thing that we're getting from the thing I did last night. So we bring this up, and this will also be our opportunity to fix whatever the heck is going on wrong here. Oh, I know what's going wrong. I haven't updated yet, and so I made some changes a while ago to this which key plugin because they made some backwards incompatible changes, but this particular machine is not on the latest version of which key. So, yep, that's going to be something we got to fix, and it should just be an install should do that. So actually, let's do that first because it's going to distract me because I think every time we open up something, it's going to complain. So we do lazy. It's just lazy update. I don't know. We'll let this get going. I don't know what this is going to. The challenge with this is synchronizing multiple machines is a trick because for lots of reasons. Really? Oh, come on. There we go. What was I saying? So having multiple changes or multiple things is a trick because it updates this lazy lock file all the time. And I'm sure there are ways that you can just stay pinned to some version of lazy and only update based on the lock file, but that's not typically what I do. Let's see if opening this up is going to complain. Oh my word. Which key requires NeoVim version 9.4, so apparently I'm on an old version. Yuck. NeoVim version, what version are we on? Shoot. All right, well, let's do it. Brew, update, or is it upgrade? I always forget. Let's try update NeoVim. It might be the other one. Yeah, I got it wrong. Brew, upgrade, NeoVim. And that will probably bring maybe a whole world of things along with it. Not my plan to be updating a bunch of NeoVim stuff. Sorry, I should have done that before the stream started. That's just the reality of things at times. And it might require me to update my fonts and a bunch of other nonsense. All right, well, while that's running, let's talk about what I did actually pull from that repository. So even though this is failing, we should be able to get past this stuff eventually if we just keep hitting enter. And then we can go to the ZSH file. And so what I'm going to do for installing Go and working with Go is I'm going to use a different version manager. And that version manager is called ASDF. In fact, let's go take a look at GitHub ASDF. So we've got ASDF here, and ASDF is a pretty convenient tool. It's a as you can read it here, it says multiple runtime version manager, and it will handle installs of. Its mission is not to be like dealing with packages and the intricacies of each language. It just says we'll go as far as getting you the language that you want. So maybe that's Python, maybe that's Ruby, maybe that's Node.js, maybe that is Go. Go is one of those things. So with ASDF, there's a ton of plugins that you can do, and the plugin is basically your way to get whatever the runtime is you need for your tool, and from there you can install the things that you require. So this is going to continue to install stuff for update NeoVim to get us there, but after that's done, we're going to install ASDF. After that, we'll be able to add the Go language runtime plugin for ASDF, which will then let us finally install Go. So I guess this is as much an exploration of the Go standard library as how to bootstrap yourself to get going with Go. Jump over here and take a look at something for a real quick second. Okay, cool. So that's going to keep running, and while we're poking here, maybe we should start looking at the actual things that we're going to use. So within Go standard library, there's a lot of packages that are here, and actually, our notes app or something. There are notes here. Are these the kind of notes that I want? Sure. Continue. No, I don't want to. Okay. Looking for like a sticky note. Does my Mac OS have a sticky note thing? I want to keep something kind of like pinned in the corner that we could reference. Mac OS sticky note. Stickies? That's seems to be in. Create a note. Stickies user guide. Yeah, I thought it had something like this. In the Stickies app on your Mac. So is there Stickies? Ah. So Stickies and notes are two separate things, apparently. Okay, let's get rid of this. And, okay. Get rid of this. If you don't save this note, its contents will be lost. I don't care. And format text using different fonts or font sizes. How do you change the font sizes? All right. Well, maybe this is not where not the direction I want to go in. We'll keep trying. File, new note. All right. And then, oh man. Okay, well, let's leave this up here for a moment. So what do we want to do? We want a few things. We want to, it's not going to work. It's too small. Go fonts. Let's go much, much bigger, twice the size. There we go. We want to install ASDF. We want to install Go plugin. We want to install Go. That'll finally get us everywhere we need to be for that. Then we need to start a Go repository, because I want to put this code in a place where I'd be able to use this for my actual presentation in a few weeks. So that's something that we can start, so we can clone from there. After that, we'll do the minimal stuff that we needed to do to get going is start a Go mod init that will get the pieces necessary for the proper structure for running Go build. From that, we can do a main file or a package main, which will be our entry point for running our server. We don't need to get complex with what we're going to, like, there's no folder structure that I'm really exploring here, or file structure, or packages, any of that mess. I think we'll be able to dump all of this Go code in like a single file to start, just as we explore this. So then what we need to do is get a little server running, which is going to use the net HTTP package. That's where we start from. And that's got stuff for figuring out routing. So routing is mapping paths, HTTP paths and methods to functions that you'd want to execute. So that'll be an interesting exploration. From routing, I want to figure out how to do, like, it'd be cool, I think, to figure out API, like JSON APIs. How would we make a simple JSON API using nothing but Go? That would be neat. I want to explore how much can we use with templates. That would be interesting as well. Oh, shoot. I was hoping this would just resize. And then what can we do about data? Is there, like, can we use, do we need to use JSON files, other formats, a database? You know, that'd be cool. How far is this going to let us go? So those are, I think, the things that we want to try and tackle here. And I'll keep this up as we're going along. So if we go through our list and get down to it. Oh, boo. The keys. Let's close that other notes app because that's going to confuse me. Let's brew install ASDF. There's lots of ways to probably install ASDF for your machine, but for me, for a Mac here, brew is the most natural choice. And if I wanted to, there's probably ways that I could run brew upgrade on Go itself and get the latest version, but I'd want to be able to manage different versions, and ASDF is a pretty cool tool for doing that. All right, so I did this stuff. If you read through the ASDF documentation, they'll basically say go install ASDF, and then modify your shell so that your ASDF directory is on your path, and it actually needs to be on there pretty early. So if we look at my path right now, this is going to be on a new terminal. Tiny and the wrong font. Phooey. Okay, so that was from the brew upgrade, and it has the wrong font. So one more thing, sorry y'all. We'll go to profiles, default. What's going on? No, not what I wanted. Edit profiles, default. Then we want text, and I don't want Menlo. I want Ubuntu Nerd Mono. That gets me back my little branch icon and the nerd fonts. And then we really want this to be much bigger than that. I had it at like 14 something, I think. That big? No, it's bigger for the streaming. So let's go until it fills up that window again. 20. All right, let's assume that's what it was. Okay. So now we should be able to look at, with this new shell that so because I did my pull from my .files thing, every time I start a new shell, ZSHRC files should be sourced, and now the ASDF stuff from that ASDF plugin from OMZ, OhmyZSH, sorry, there's so many tools in this, is adding this directory to my path. So let's talk a second about, if you've never used ASDF before, what does it do? Right now it's going to seem like it doesn't do much of anything, because if I type go, it's still, or if I type which go, it's still going to be the one that's from Homebrew. So we still see version 1.20.2. And if I type ASDF, we'll see all of the commands that are available to ASDF, and we can do an ASDF, I think it's ASDF list. Yeah, so we don't have any plugins installed. So I happen to know that the plugin is called Golang, and from doing this last night, I know that I need version 1.22.6 is the latest one I saw. Yeah, so John, that's what I'm saying. Like, because I'm using that was unclear, and that's my fault. So in my .files, let's see, I've got a ZSH already, and then I have a ZSHRC. So here's ZSHRC. That's a new annoying warning. Thanks for that. And I'm using OhmyZSH, and OhmyZSH has a plugin already for ASDF, which effectively does what you said. It adds the shim directory for ASDF to your path. That's really what it's doing. But I can do it with, one extra plugin here rather than adding some new path export stuff at the end. So that's what's happening. And let's get rid of these other ones that have the wrong path, because those aren't right. So let's add our new version of Go. So we're going to say ASDF add Golang 1.22.6. What? No. Sorry, ASDF. This is where I'm going to type it right. ADSF. I lamented on X yesterday that my one downside of using this tool is that ASDF was like the junk command that I would like to type in the terminal sometimes to make sure that stuff was working, and now it's a real command, so it gets kind of weird. So sorry, ASDF install, and then we want to say golang and 1.22.6. I think we'll do it. No such plugin golang. Come on, y'all. So, all right, my bad. We first have to say ASDF plugin add golang. Good grief. And they're apparently making other suggestions for us about getting different versions of Lua. I don't know. So now we can go back to that install command, and we should get in this process a version of Golang for 1.22.6. But what you're going to see here is even though this gets installed and is ready to go, it won't be available yet. And it won't be available for a couple of reasons. One was this plugin wasn't installed yet. So if we do which Go, ASDF's not trying to support Go because you didn't say to. So ASDF is only going to attempt to support the tools that you actually say you want to support. So if I open a new terminal and now I do which Go, you're going to see something, you should see something different. Yeah. Instead, now you see that there's this ASDF shim for Go. And if we actually take a look at that, so if we do a less on which Go, you can see what it really boils down to. It's really a fancy bash script that kind of wraps Go and looks like the Go binary call, and it's going to eventually delegate to Go, but it's calling ASDF instead. Now, this does carry a performance penalty, a very minor one, but it is in the range of like 100 milliseconds or so. So be aware that, like, if you do this, you're opting into the flexibility of having multiple version support comes with the cost of your stuff is slightly slower to execute. If that 100 milliseconds is really a problem for you, then you can go. All right, so now I said, let's see, we've got our sticky. We have now installed ASDF. We've installed the Go plugin, and you've seen the installation of Go. It really wasn't a lot to get our version of Go going. So let's move on to the next bit. Let's start by going over to GitHub to my account. And from here, I want to be able to go to repositories, and let's make a new repository. So for the owner, I'm going to pick myself. There's a bunch of organizations that I'm in, which is why I have to select one there. And then I want to say, what do I want to call this? I think I want to call this Go Standard App, because that's really what we're trying to do. And then make a Go app using nothing but the standard library. Let's add a README file, sure, why not? And let's go in here and do Go for a git ignore, so it knows all the right files. And then I think I'm cool with MIT, so let's do that. And then I don't want to use CodeCov, not interested for that, even though I have it configured for my account for some stuff. And then we should be able to create our repository. All right, so let's get the URL to clone and go back to the projects area, projects directory, and do a git clone and paste this in, and we'll get our Go standard app. So far, this doesn't do anything, right? We're still just at some other step. We've got our Go repository. That wasn't difficult. So now we need to actually make sure that we can run a Go project, and that, like, let's just try it. Let's see what happens. Go build. This is the thing that you would need to do in order to get this going. But look what it says. No version is set for the Go command. So that's not coming from Go, that's coming from ASDF. That shim is saying, like, we don't know what version of Go you want, you need to specify that. So ASDF has one configuration file that goes along with it. If we go to the, I don't know if it's in the guide. The guide is like yada yada yada, install some stuff, install a plugin, install a version. So then we have to set a single file here that's essentially telling us which version of Go we want to use. And the idea with this is that you and I could be working on the same Go project, and if we both had ASDF installed, which is this is exactly what we do at my company, is we want to be on a consistent tool set. So we source control the tools and versions we want to use. To do that, let's close these other two. To do that, we're going to create a new file, which is called tool-versions. And in it, we put the name of the plugin, which was Golang, and we set the version that we want, which was, 1.22.6. And the idea here is that, let's say you were on a different version, and you tried to get this going, and you clone this repository, and you try to do go build, it's going to say, hey, wait a minute, you don't have go.1.22.6 installed. So then you would install it, you'd get up to speed here, and get everything going. Or in fact, maybe it will do this for you. Like now that we have this, ASDF install. And so we already have it installed. So just the presence of that file is enough for ASDF to say like, oh, this is what you want. So now if we try go build, now that the file exists, we should get some kind of different behavior, presumably something from the Go runtime. So now we've got a message from Go itself, not ASDF, but Go. And so we're making progress. So we need to create a module. And this is going to be, the Go package naming stuff is interesting. So it kind of matches along with wherever you're storing the source control. So we actually want to call this, like we want to say go mod init, and then it would be github.com/my username, mblayman/go, I think it's just Go standard apps. That would be the, like our, that sort of sets the root for your package structure. And this will make a little bit more sense in a bit, but we'll start here. So now we have tool versions, we have Go mod file. Let's take a look at the Go mod file, see what it put in there. So it's getting a parser because it didn't have the parser for Go mod files, but now it does. And so we have our package that we've got, or a module for this, and then we've got which version of Go we're going to be using. Okay, so now let's try running go build again. See, it should still fail, I suspect. Yeah, so it's saying you don't have any Go files, so we cannot do this. So there's one more thing we finally need in order to put all of this together, and that is to go through and create an any file, really. It could be main.go, but since we're making a web app, I want to call it app.go. And then we do that, and the first thing that Go is going to expect is some kind of package name. The spec for Go says that if you want to have an entry point for your app, it needs to be called, it needs to be in package main, and the function that you're going to call needs to be called main. So we're going to use package main, we're going to make a function, and we'll call that main, and we're not going to have any arguments or anything like that. So let's go to the body here. It doesn't need to return anything, so you don't even need to specify anything there. And for here, we can do format print line and say hello world, you know, kind of classic example, right? So that should be enough to do a Go build, and with any luck, we should get a binary out of here. So it made a binary, and it called the binary Go standard app. If we do look at this, now we have this Go standard app file. So we do want to do one more thing in here. If we did have some binaries, and more tree sitter stuff. Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's put just call it Go standard app, just so we don't accidentally commit the binary. In fact, that's only going to be at the root. Let's put that like there. So now it should be gone, and we've got a bunch of files in place. That was sort of the introductory like Go setup here. Let's go ahead and commit all this change. Take a quick look at what's there. So we got a git ignore. We set our tool versions. We have a super basic app main function, which is about as short as you can get for hello world, I think, with Go. And then a Go mod file. The mod file, if you've never used Go before, is a file that, I mean, it's the closest analogy is the requirements.in file that I've been using for JourneyInbox. It's the index of packages. And funny enough, like because of what I'm trying to do for this particular project, I don't think it should change beyond this. One thing that I do like about Go, though, is a pretty cool thing. Because it is a compiled language, what Go can do is look at all the things that you import. And they did some clever things here. They specified their imports so that the imports match like the third-party location, the web address of a package. And so that you'll have strings that are like github.com/mblayman/go standard app/ whatever package. And if those packages are not part of your module, in this case, github.com mblayman go standard app, then Go module will figure that out with a command. The command is called go mod tidy, and it essentially scans your source code, see which things you depend upon, and sets them in your Go mod file as your requirements, which is pretty cool. There's also like the equivalent of a lock file that goes with that. It's called go.sum. And so those two things in conjunction are the classic requirements or your package manifest and the lock file that ensures your versions are all right. So it's pretty well done with the Go ecosystem here. But again, we should not be hitting anything outside of the standard library, so I don't think that we'll see anything more for that Go mod file. I could be wrong on maybe a couple things there, but I think that's right. Let's try committing and say add a main function. So, and let's push all that stuff out. So if you want to play along, you can. I made that repository public. So again, that's at mblayman/go standard app. And it's not very exciting yet, but it will become more interesting as time goes on. And let's get rid of this suggested workflows. I never need these things. Or I haven't yet. Maybe there's some future where I will, but don't need them today. Okay. So I think we're done with anything we need to do about ASDF. Now we just kind of have Go working and it's doing everything that we need. So really we're mostly down to using the standard library and exploring some of that. There it is. So we've got our Go mod init, we've got package main, those things are done. So the next thing I want to do is I want to see a web server going, and I want to be able to go to localhost here at the port and see what happens. So that's going to take some doing on our end, and this is actually where I will probably start being a lot less knowledgeable. So like I said, I'm not some like deep Go expert on a lot of the stuff from the standard library because I'm more comfortable with a bunch of other packages that have been put together, on my behalf. So want to talk to me about GenQL or GQL and a bunch of other protobuf and all these other things, I'm more up to speed on that stuff. But when it comes to just working with straight up standard library, I'm not so savvy. So this is actually kind of interesting for me of like what can we learn here. RPC, JSON RPC stuff, that's interesting. So I'm pretty sure where we want to go though, very common popular package is net HTTP. And there are clients and there are servers in here. We are not interested in clients. We are more interested in the server side. So we'll see how all of this works. I don't know why they wrap that in a log fatal. That's curious. let's take a quick look. Let's look up a little bit, make sure we're not missing anything. No, that definitely looks like client stuff. In fact, I bet we'll see more information here. We're probably handicapping ourselves by having it too narrow on the screen. So in terms of, for the documentation overview, the server section is still in the overview. Okay, take a look. So listen and serve, that's where we get here. So we're gonna, looks like we create a server, we provide it an address, that's essentially the port. It looks like maybe the address can be more than that. We have to provide some kind of handler, so a handler function that follows this particular interface, I believe. And then we can do some timeouts if we want. I'm not going to get super into that. I'm mostly interested in, can we make a server and have it run? I don't understand the wrapping of log fatal, so let's jump to, let's see, scan down here a little bit. Let's look at listen and serve for a minute. And where I'd love to go with this is, like, not only would it be cool to explore what's possible with the standard library, but could we put it up on Fly or something like that? That'd be kind of cool. So I think what it's doing is it returns an error if it fails. Is that what it says? Listen return always returns a non-nil error. After shutdown or close, the returned error is error server closed. Oh, that's interesting. So will it always give a non-zero code? Okay. We're gonna find out. So let's go back to the server section and see if we can just put this together. So what? We need a receiver pointer. And hopefully this syntax doesn't bother you too much. I don't know. Normally with Python, we're not doing as much type description stuff. So this is a little different from that. But you know, that's the way of it. The other thing about Go is their propensity to use very short variable names. I don't like that, and I've seen the rationale, but I still don't like it. So I'm going to go and be a little bit more explicit with so they used S as their server. I think that's stupid. Why wouldn't you just call it server? You're not saving that many characters. So let's do that. Let's go to the HTTP package, and so we import that. So imports in Go look like strings basically, and so we want to say a server, not serve, but a server, and to construct it, you use curly braces to like kind of create an instance. Okay, and then so this code will actually not compile right now, and the reason for that is Go is one of their novel things about it is they built the syntax to the formatter to actually pair with the language, so that if you don't follow their syntactic conventions, it just won't compile. Like if we try and do, you can build a binary, which we did. I don't want to continue doing the binary. Instead, one line too short. You can do go run, and that will like basically like build and run at the same time. But watch what happens. So we should be able to. Oops, I didn't save. So it didn't like that. So, or it did like that because it wasn't any code change yet. So my LSP, which is hooked up to a language server. In fact, if you want to see it, let's take a quick peek. I've already got it configured. But the language server that works with Go is called Go PLS, which I think is pronounced Go Please. Like Go Please do this. So that's what's providing all of this useful information here for us, so we can see it directly in editor. But if we go and run again, it's going to say, nope, you can't do that. I think it'll say that. Yep. So because we have an unused variable, it's like, nope, we're not going to let you pass. That can be annoying, frankly. Like sometimes I'll find myself having to comment out some stuff, and it won't let you use unused imports either. So you'll have to comment things out in multiple places. But that's just the way of it. I'm really interested to try this like log.fatal thing on the server. Server listen and serve, and let's just see what happens. Now we have not given any configuration, so this might not work because it might say like, hey, there's not even a handler, but maybe it will work and just say that there's nothing. It won't respond to anything. It'd just be like a running server. Oops. So there's an example. We had a format, but wouldn't run because of that. Okay. I think it's not hanging, so I think it's running. You know what we should have done? Hold on. Oops. Let's keep the format and say format print line, just so we can have some kind of feedback loop that the thing's actually going. Starting server. That way, like, I'm pretty sure. Okay, what was the status? Errored with a 1. That's sort of weird to me that you would have a server that, like, is basically a process that Control-C always exits with the error code. So I can't say I understand that example. Why would they do this in the code? Why not just end it without the log fatal? Because it doesn't seem right. Okay, so it's starting the server, but we didn't put anything there yet. So if we go, I don't even, what port is it going to default to? Go look at the functions again. Oh, those are functions. Not functions. What do we want? We want this is a type. So if you see how we called this, we did server dot. So it's not quite. I mean, it's kind of like object-oriented stuff, but not. The language, what we'll call these, we'll use a different terms. And so instead of calling them methods, or maybe they do call them methods, but they're more like receiver methods, I think is the term that gets used. And essentially, in order to call that, you need an instance of, or a handle to server to call some of these things. So I'm looking for the server struct. All right, listen and serve. And trying to find what the address will be. Listen and serve listens on the TCP network address serve adder. Okay, but we didn't specify that. And then calls serve to handle requests on incoming exceptions. So did adder get specified as the default up here? So adder optionally specifies TCP port for the server to listen on in the form of host port. If empty or HTTP, the port 80 is used. Well, how is that possible? Because I definitely did not give it, I didn't run it with sudo. So that's a port that, what? How did it run that? 404. Seems like it's running on that privileged port. Like if I run this, refresh this again, it's not going to be found. What did it do to convince my Mac that that's okay? Historically, when I've done other stuff that wanted to use low ports, that's right. Like you'd have to do like sudo to use one of those lower number ports. Okay, now I'm curious. Mac OS web. Let's see, localhost port 80 allowed. What's going to come up there? See, this is my question. It's like, we're not running a root process, which is what sudo would do, right? It would escalate the privileges of the process so that runs as root. And in theory, then could run as with ports that are protected. But we just saw there that Go somehow convinced the system to allow it to run on port 80, which is very weird. I wonder if ChatGPT will be able to answer this. Why is my Golang net HTTP server allowed to run on port 80 without using sudo on Mac OS operating system localhost? Okay, so there could be reasons. Well, it is confirming what I would suspect. Anything below 1024 is considered a privileged port. Few scenarios that a Go server might be able to run without sudo. System integrity protection. EFCTL. Custom Mac. User account with special privileges. Some development environment. I don't know. A good question, John. I'm not sure if it's forwarded or not. I wouldn't think so. That's a mystery. Or it's a mystery to me. I'm sure someone else is like, well, this is why it works. And I'm guessing that ChatGPT doesn't have enough context to know the specifics. See if there's another answer down here. So I don't want to forward traffic. I don't want to do port forwarding. I want an understanding of why they allow it. Okay, I'm going to leave that a mystery. Not super important. I'm going to switch it to a different port anyway. So I'm mostly just surprised that this got anywhere. So let's go into this configuration and change an attribute here. Let's change it to adder and put it on 8080. This is what I intended to do, and this is actually behavior that I didn't anticipate. So we can do go run app, starting server. Whoops, that's not what I tried to click. :8080. All right, so this makes sense. So now we basically have a server, but there is no handler of any kind, and so everything, all of these are going to be 404, right? Regardless of whatever I put in here, it's going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. So now our job is to get into routing. The other aspect of this that we could explore at some point in the future is, if you look at what's here, when we go down the serve methods, there's actually two of these different methods here. So there's listen and serve, and then there's listen and serve TLS. TLS, if you're not familiar with it, is the acronym for secure connection stuff. What does TLS stand for? I'm drawing a blank. TLS. Transport security layer? Transport layer security. Yeah. So it's essentially like, used to be called SSL. I don't remember why they changed the names. It was like one TLS replaced SSL for some reason. Yeah, don't know the history there. but we could go so far as setting up a TLS certificate and serving over HTTPS. And I think that would be doable. Might make for a cool demo actually to see that it happen locally. And you can use like developer certificates. So you can do a self-signed certificate and run it on this machine and fake TLS essentially. You'd get the big scary warning on your browser saying like, hey, this cert doesn't look real. Are you sure you want to trust it? There are ways that you can, there's some tools that you can use to convince your local machine to trust your local certs. I think the tool that I'm thinking of is called MK-Cert. So that's something we could explore if we're interested. The reason you might want to do that is, all right, let's back up. Let's imagine why would you use Go Standard Library? I don't know. If you only wanted to use Go Standard Library, maybe because you really had an environment where you're constrained or you don't want to do other extra packages, who knows? This is mostly an exploration for what's possible for me. But you could, in theory, work with something like a DigitalOcean. And so this is a DigitalOcean. It's just one. There's DigitalOcean is called a VPS, and that stands for Virtual Private Server. What just happened there? So you could work with one of many VPSs. Apparently, Google is now including images of other common tools that you get the same stuff. And a VPS is cool in that it gives you your own little chunk of a server that you can operate on your own. Like you get an Ubuntu machine available on DigitalOcean's cloud, and which is just to say their servers somewhere. You will get IP address assigned, although you might have to pay for if you wanted a static IP, something fixed. That's where they start to charge you money, I think. But you could do that, and then you could then take your Go binary, whatever you build, and copy it there. Copy it to your VPS and have it run, or configure a little bit of configuration so that it runs all the time with what's the boot up sequence thing on Linux called these days? It's not supervisor D. Linux launch. It's not launch D equivalent. It's, what is it? Supervisor D. That's a different program. This is one that's like a user land program. Linux systemd. That was the one I was looking for. So you could create a systemd startup script that when your VPS, your virtual private server, boots up, it has a startup script that has your little Go binary and starts that from the beginning. And if you get